it's really important if you're building abundance that you build your ability to, your maturity and your ability to hold the abundance.
How can this listener who feels guilt about just taking that no day, what would you tell them?
I think there's a few things. So, one, I think when you start to understand how good that is for your nervous system, for your health, and for your well-being, that knowledge can sometimes be enough to be like, no, this is literally what's going to help me be healthy and live a long, beautiful life. Because literally, like when your nervous system is balanced, then all of the other systems in your body can be balanced and your nervous system takes precedence. So if you're in chronic fight or flight, your digestive system, your respiratory system, like those things aren't working properly. So if you value health, sometimes that can be enough. It's just to know like this is literally what's healthy for me. But then I think sometimes there's like a shame piece to that. You have to look at like, what do you think that means about you if you're not productive and you're not doing? What did you learn about what that means about you? You don't want to throw yourself into it. Maybe you don't start with a whole day. Maybe you do an afternoon or a morning or whatever. But you want to slowly build that out and build your tolerance for it, because that guilt is likely a sign of there's some conditioning in there. Yeah,
there's probably something from childhood. There's a root. So it's like uncovering what that is. And I love what you said earlier. It's like we do schedule a massage every week or month, or we take our vitamins. Like, why don't we just start scheduling in, even if it's like half an afternoon in a month, like start off small, like, or book yourself for a staycation at the Marriott or whatever. I found this like interesting too, because like I always felt so much guilt, like even just taking any time to myself, especially when my daughter was smaller, but like going to yoga, I would be like, oh my God, like I'm a stay-at-home mom. And like, why does my partner have to stay home with her? That's so like bad of me. And I go to yoga and I'd feel guilt the whole time. And then I'd come back and she'd be crying and I just have this guilt. But then like, I've really had to check in with that. And it was like, if my daughter, when she's a mom, do I want her to feel the way I'm feeling? And I was like, hell fucking no. I don't want her. So I started explaining it to her. And it's easier because she's older now. I mean, it is harder when they're little. But I think like saying to her is like, I don't want you, when you're a mom, to neglect yourself. So this is mom's way of taking care of herself so that I can be a happy, healthy mom too, just like I would want you to do when you're a mom. And I found like actually even just saying that took the guilt away.
I feel like mom guilt is so real.
Yeah.
There's some research that has come out that has talked about how one of the best things for your children or for a child is seeing their mother in a state of delight. I wonder if it's the same thing as, you know how our nervous systems relax when we hear birds chirping? Because if birds are chirping, that means there's no predators around. I would imagine it's probably the same thing for kids. They're like, mom is happy. There's no threats. We're good. We can relax. So I think it's one of the best things you can do for your kids is like attune to your happiness.
And I think just us having this conversation and the listener hearing that, I think like what you said, it's just like, sometimes you just need that okay. Like you just need to hear that it's okay. And I think that like that in itself is just like an activation. Hopefully if you're listening, and that hopefully is the sign or the activation to allow yourself to take that and be in the feminine, because we deserve it. That's what we're meant to be. We were created.
We are. Yes, this is what we're created for.
Yes. Okay, I love this. Okay, talk to me about Venus placement, because I know that what I've read from your page is that our Venus placement, and tell me if I'm wrong, but it reveals the key to a luxury, ease, pleasure, unapologetic self-worth. Is that correct? Or tell me more.
Yeah, because Venus is, so she's connected to the goddess Aphrodite or the goddess Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, sensuality, also the goddess of war in some old myths too. So she's got that duality. And so what Venus represents is there's natural inherent resources that we have internally, gifts that we give to other people that come through nothing that we're doing. It's just a quality of being. And when we learn how to soften into those gifts, they can be gifts that create a lot of ease for us in life. They can be gifts that open a lot of doors, that bring a lot of money to us. It's like, Have you ever like had a friend or known someone where you're like, okay, you're just so adorable. I just want to buy you things. Or like, oh my God, I have this one girlfriend. She's so funny. We always joke that if she was a man and I was a woman, we probably would be married by now because our synastry is so good. And whenever we're out together, she'll say to me, she's like, oh my God, don't open a door. You are too pretty and too cute. You should not be opening doors. Like that's our Venus energy, is when something about us evokes this desire to give to us from other people. Children are really good at this. This is why we just want to give to children, because they're fully in their Venusian energy most of the time. And Venus requires us to feel worthy just because we exist. It's a deep, deep sense of self-worth, and a type of self-worth that comes from what we value and who we are and how we carry ourselves. And it's a self-worth that comes more from what we don't do and less from what we do.
Just being
and knowing and saying, no, I will not do that. That's not part of my life. No way. And
I'm not doing chores. No.
Yes, that's part of the self-worth. So it's knowing so deeply who you are and being really rooted in that. And life just gets a lot easier once you've developed that level of self-worth, because you just won't tolerate anything that isn't matching you there.
How do we get back to that then? I know my Venus is in Gemini. How does that relate? Like, how do we, obviously conditioning, and I think like we experience things like we talked about even earlier. It's like you experience yourself and then people dim you or shame you. So you start to get away from that. But how can we get back to that like true essence? Like, just give me things.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is looking at what you might have been shamed for around that energy. Like I have Venus in Taurus. So my natural way of being, even though I'm a Gemini, I do move pretty slowly. Like I take a lot of time. Everyone jokes I'm like a black cat. You gotta like, don't spook her. Don't move too quickly. So I had to do a lot of work around accepting that that's just how I operate, that I move a little bit slowly. For you, it might be like, if you have experienced conditioning around how chatty you are, or how much like reclaiming that, like I'm a yapper, like I'm going to yap, let a girl yap, like really learning and looking at what these natural gifts are that you have and leaning into it without guilt or shame is a really key starting place.
That makes so much sense. Like I literally say all the time that I could talk to a wall and have a conversation. Like I could talk to it. It's like, I don't even need a person there and I could have a conversation. And that's so funny. And I think you meet certain people where they really appreciate that and enjoy it. And then you click. And then there's the people that like, you do feel too much or you don't feel like you're yourself. And I just kind of like find myself not really drawn to them. And then kind of like I'm do the pleasantries, but they're not really the people that like evoke like energy in me or like excite me. And I don't really not want to like in a mean way, but I don't want to be around them. And I'm kind of just embracing that, like really trusting who makes me feel good and like allowing that. And if people don't, even if it's people that I feel like I should be around, like, you know, the should, I'm like really getting into this, like, but like, you don't make me feel safe or like, you don't inspire the most authentic version of me. And like, I'll be nice always, but like, I'm okay to take a step back.
I love that. And so that's a really big part of working with Venus. We talk about this all the time. I have this group coaching program called Daughter of Aphrodite that is like a year-long container all about Venus. It's all we do. We do some like moon stuff too, but it's like feminine astrology. And we talk about this all the time about it is okay and necessary. It's more than okay. It's necessary for you to set boundaries around who gets to have access to you. It's okay for you to have these tiers and these levels of who gets to know what about your life, who gets to spend time with you. Your time, your energy is limited and it's a precious resource. It's something really special. And so I think that's a really key part of reclaiming that Venusian energy is feeling in control of your time and energy and being very intentional about who you spend it with.
I love that because that really is like they say bad fruit rots the other fruit. Yeah. So it's like you really have to be mindful. How do different Venus signs then attract differently? Could you walk us like through a few examples? Like you're a Taurus and I'm a Gemini. So what would be the difference?
Yeah. So I have like little seduction archetypes. This is something I'm still working on. It's kind of like in the baby phases of it, but there's different natural qualities that you have that are going to be attractive to the right person. So the way that you seduce and magnetize and are really attractive is going to attract someone who is correct for you. And so when we're following like dating advice that tells us to act one kind of way, we're doing what works for that dating coach based on what is correct for them. So Venus is deeply connected to our values. And the more we're embodying those values, the more we attract people who either have similar values or they at least appreciate those values. So for you, like, it's okay for you to be a little hot and cold, to be honest.
I am.
Yes, exactly. Because that's like Venus and Gemini is fickle. I like you today. I hate you tomorrow. Leave me alone. Come back another time.
Facts.
And so that's going to work for you because that's authentic to you. And that's going to attract a partner that is like, I love this about you. I love that you're a little bit of a brat. I love that I can't predict what's going to happen. You know, I love that you keep me on my toes, right? Whereas with someone, if someone has Venus in Cancer, for example, which is a lot more, it is a lot of emotional safety, they might not necessarily operate that way because they're not going to want to attract someone that is like attracted or turned on by that hot and cold energy. They're going to bring a little bit more of a like nourishing and nurturing ideal lover kind of energy into their like seduction, like their game of seduction or the way that they magnetize. And so a huge part of attracting what is correct for you is embodying those values without shame and without trying to be like someone else. All 12 of the Venus signs have different things that they value. They have different ways that they operate and really different skill sets that they bring into love and relationship and even like friendship too. Any one-on-one connection or interaction.
I heard this thing that said, I think it was like a male relationship coach, but it said like women should never chase men. Like when you are dating or like when you're, you know, in that energy, is that because they will attract to us based on us being so authentic that like they can't step away? But when we're chasing them, we're not being genuine in who we are. Like how does that relate? Is that, I feel like that goes with Venus, but
yes, that is like very like Venus is the I don't chase, I attract energy. There are women who have more Mars energy in their chart and they love the chase. So if you're a woman and you're like, I love picking the hottest guy at the bar and seeing if I can get him, don't listen to that advice because what's authentic for you is going to be to chase in that situation.
While I have you, I want to ask you a question. Do you know the quickest way to become your most authentic self? The version of you who is capable of anything and feels exhilarating to be. The version of you that calls in wealth, love, and your dream life where anything is possible. Well, here it is. We usually have a major block that we don't see. But once we discover it and know it, we become aware of it. And that's when we can start to make changes, even unconsciously. So uncover your block to become the best version of you with this free quiz linked in the description. It's the same quiz that's helped me and so many others uncover what's holding us back.
So I think what we're seeing in the dating game, the dating sphere, I have a background in therapy. So I used to be a therapist in private practice and I focused on relationships and couples. So this is something that I pay really close attention to because it's another huge area of interest for me. And I think what we're just seeing is a lot of dating coaches teaching women not to have anxious attachment because we tend to, as a group, lean very anxiously. And this is an overcorrection of that tendency for women to make things really easy for their partners, to chase, to overstep their own boundaries, to not be rooted in their sense of self-worth. So you can be rooted in your sense of self-worth and still sending a text and still saying, hey, I'd love to see you. A lot of it comes down to the energy of like, am I trying to prove something? Am I trying to be what they like or what they want? When you're in your Venus energy, you're like, this is who I am, take it or leave it. I'll work on some of the parts of me that maybe are not good and I'll do that. But for the most part, this is who I am. Take it or leave it. And there's just a really strong sense of self that comes from doing that work. So I would say like that is what they're talking about. Like those coaches, they're saying like lean into your Venus energy and get out of your Mars energy.
That makes sense because I feel like when I was in my 20s and dating and I had a very like low self-worth, I feel like guys wouldn't be giving me what I needed. Like they wouldn't be giving me that like attention, and I would like morph and adapt and be the cool girl and not need that when I really wanted it. And then I found like as I got like later into my 20s, I kind of had a epiphany of, I was just like, fuck this. Like I actually don't need a guy.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm done. Like if I don't meet someone, like I'm okay with it. Like I have a good job, I make good money. Like I don't need it. Like literally that is when I met my partner. I was so like done chasing and like making them like give me what I needed. And then it was almost like when I switched that energy and I wasn't like begging for it. And then it was like a different energy. Like I was really confident. So there was like some self-worth in there.
Yes. Yeah.
So like is worthiness, does that have something to do with our chart, what chart placement, or is there a connection between the two?
So we all have different things that make us feel worthy.
Yeah.
And there's two pieces. So there's inherent worthiness, which we all have. We all have. And it's a struggle that we all have to work towards. But then there is like certain things that we value. And we tend to, when we're living in alignment with our values, that's when we feel worthy. And so you can look at your Venus, you can look at your second house, you can look at some other aspects like your sun and your Jupiter to see where some of those natural potential is. It's also very hard for us to feel worthy if we have unlived, untapped potential. And that untapped potential within us can grow and become like a dark hole. So we also want to be paying attention to that as well. Most people are not going to be super happy or fulfilled not living into their potential. It just is what it is, even if they feel deeply worthy of whatever. So you have to look at both of those things, but everyone's going to have a different experience of what makes them feel worthy. And that's going to be based on their values. So you have to look at those aspects in your chart.
That makes so much sense because I do feel like we have this like untapped potential. It's like I feel like we came here fully worthy and like we had all of this conditioning and programming and shame and, all these experiences that like took us away from that. And I think we're coming back to that. But there is a purpose for us on this earth, like God or whatever you believe in created us for something more. And I found like I wasn't living in this world of like healing and sharing and being truthful. And I think like teaching people to be authentic and be yourself and it's okay and it's good. And that is what attracts abundance. And so like that has been my like growth piece. And I also felt no self-worth because I wasn't in that realm. I was a nurse and I was hustling 12-hour shifts. And like, but once I started coming here and coming into this alignment, I'm like, oh my God, like self-worth has grown as I become more authentic and sharing in this space and finding like where I'm meant to be. Like, I feel like I have a place, whereas before I was just like floating around. And so I know exactly what you're saying. You can't just look at your chart to find worthiness. There's deeper meaning. But if you are getting to that deeper meaning, what places in your chart would you look to be like, hey, I'm starting to feel worthy, but like where might these self-worth pieces be?
So you want to start with your Venus because that's what you value. And so you have to live in alignment with your values. Then you want to look at your second house. Those are the natural resources that you have that you can exchange for abundance and other resources. And a lot of our self-worth is rooted in that. The second house is what creates a lot of security within ourselves. We want to attune to that. That's why like you would have Gemini in your second house. That's why sharing is a huge thing and like social media and influencing and whatever, because that is a really big part of your like self-worth code.
Interesting.
Right? Yeah. And then if you're feeling like, okay, I have this untapped potential, then you want to look at Jupiter and the sun. If there's like something spiritually missing, when you see people where they have all these gifts, all these talents, they've attracted a ton of abundance and they're still unhappy and they're missing something, it's usually their North Node. The North Node is the spiritual lesson or the spiritual embodiment that we came here to do. And I like to think that you get to decide. It's not like your other aspects, so like if your Saturn, for example, or Saturn will bust down your door and say, you're learning this. The North Node will be like, okay, next lifetime, babe, you can just miss out on me. So it's optional in a way. And the North Node is challenging because it's something you've never done before. So you're like, usually you do not want to do it and you do not want to look at it, But that can be a really big missing layer if you feel like you've got all these other things down.
I love that. I feel like that breakdown itself it's for everyone in every area. And that's so funny you say about North Node, because I have a North Node in Pisces. And like, I am not an emotional person. Like, I have prided my whole life in being the non-emotional, like the cool girl, in dating, it was always like, oh yeah, she's so chill. Or she's so like easy. But then having a kid, like, sent that in a whole tailspin. And now I'm like really trying to be more emotional and understanding. And it is no easy feat, especially for this fire girl that's like, has no experience in talking about feelings. I'm like, holy shit, why would you do this to me? But it's a lesson, right? It's really to help you grow.
Yeah, it's really important to develop those qualities of your North Node if you want to feel like really rooted in yourself and really good about your path.
I love that. I think those are all so good. I'm already writing them down. So I'm like, oh, I just want to go check in on them again.
I love that. Yeah.
Okay. So another question, because I feel like abundance is always something we talk about. And I feel like we talked about it with like femininity. When you're more feminine, you attract more. But is there something like in our chart that might be related to why we're repelling abundance? And how would we start rewiring that?
Yeah. It's not as much about like repelling. Venus can have a repelling energy actually, but she only repels what we don't want. It's more about blocking and constricting. Abundance is connected to Venus and Jupiter. These are our two benefics. These are the areas of life or the things that are meant to come easy to us. And for some people, that'll come easier than others. So you could have a Jupiter-Saturn square. And so your abundance is always going to come through. You have to up level and you have to learn a lesson, and in abundance something comes through, right? Whereas for someone else, it's like they're born with a silver spoon and there's no work involved for that abundance. There's a different relationship that we have with ease and with abundance and prosperity and these different things based on your chart and based on your aspects and your planets. My experience has been that once you hit your 30s, you've got to be doing your Saturn, because maybe this is just my farm kid background. This is very well could just be the lens through which I see the world because of the way I was raised on the prairies. As people, we are taught work hard, play hard, right? And so as much as I love feminine energy, I do really value how hard I work. And
me too.
Yeah. So I think that hard work is a really big part of this equation. And that's going to look different for everybody based on your Saturn. I believe that we are rewarded energetically and in life for doing the hard things, doing the things that we don't want to do, but that we know we have to do. I think we're rewarded for stepping into that maturity and being an adult. And especially the millennial generation, we fucking suck at that as a group. Millennials are perpetual children, and they probably will be for their entire lives. It's very similar to the boomer energy. They're like also perpetual children. And so it's really important, if you're building abundance, that you build your ability to, your maturity and your ability to hold the abundance. Because you don't want to be that person that wins the lottery and has no idea how to invest or save or do anything. You have to develop certain skills as well.
I agree. I think there's all of these layers, but it's also like maturing. And I think like what you said too is like, I grew up my mom was very poor. She came from a family of 13.
Yep.
Brothers and sisters, and like lack mentality is very strong in her world. And like she shares stories, and you feel so sad for her, and you can understand it wasn't what she was trying to do, put lack on us, but I've always grown up with this, we'll save for a rainy day, or you never know when it's going to be gone. And there's been so much of that I have worked through. And that same thing, it's like this, okay, I get the money, but then it's gone. And this like fear. And it's like, okay, I really had to like change that mindset. So like what you said, it's like, yeah, you can look at all of these things, these placements, but there's also this like depth and maturity and this expansion of like what we can contain and hold. Kate, you said something about a Saturn, Jupiter, wait, what did you say? A square? What is that? I was like, I need to ask her, what does that mean?
So your planets, all the planets in your birth chart can and do have the potential to be in a relationship with another planet. So when you look at your birth chart and you circle and you see all the lines.
Yeah.
So you're pulling it up. All of those lines represent a different relationship.
Interesting.
So some of those relationships are easier. So we have trines and sextiles. Those can represent a flow of like those two planets and part of the psyche. They get each other. They understand each other. They want the same things. They're working together. You can have squares or oppositions. Sometimes the conjunction can kind of go either way that represent tension. And it's like, I want to go this way and I want to go this way, and we're going to fight about it for our entire lives.
Good luck. Have fun.
Yes. And most of us have a blend of both. We have easier aspects and more challenging aspects. And that is what makes that's where the really meaty, juicy parts of astrology come in.
Okay, that's so cool. I was wondering because I'm like, you said Saturn. So like, I actually haven't looked at my Saturn. So you said in your 30s you should. So it says I have a Saturn in Capricorn.
Yeah, you would. I think most people with a Pisces North Node have Saturn in Capricorn. So you guys have this really fucking challenging lesson. Maybe not all of you. There would be some of you that have a different North Node. But that group for you guys that have Saturn and Capricorn and a Pisces North Node, on the one hand, you're learning about the spiritual realm. And on the other hand, you got to take care of business on the material. You actually have to do both. You're designed to do both. And so with Saturn and Capricorn, you guys in your Saturn return between 28 and 31 typically had to mature very fast. You guys were the Saturn group that were buying houses, having kids, getting married, like doing all of those like typical adult things during your Saturn return.
100%. I'm like, how did you know this? This is exactly, it was like, I feel like having my daughter was like the catapults into all of this, because before that I didn't have to. Like, who did I have to be sensitive for? Like, to everyone. But like when you have a little kid, you can't just be like, oh, you know what? Like, so that's so crazy. Because I had my daughter at 20. I got pregnant at 29, and then like the house and like the relationship, it was all a whirlwind.
Yes. Yeah. That makes perfect sense.
Okay, so Saturn, you said to look at it if you're in your 30s. So explain Saturn and why we're looking at it in our 30s and what that tells us about ourselves.
In the next episode, we'll decode what your Saturn sign says about you, why it matters, and especially in your 30s, and how to use it to unlock your next level. Oh yeah, and if you want a head start, I wrote down the exact process that I use to shift my patterns, step into my power, and create the life that I actually wanted. This short ebook is perfect if you've been feeling stuck lately, feel like you're repeating the same cycles, or wondering why certain challenges keep showing up. This ebook is your map. To see how I broke free, click the link in the description to get access to the Get Unstuck ebook guide now.